Today, let's explore a different kind of leadership. It's not about the heroic, flashy stuff. It's about quiet strength, about foundational support. And we're going to unpack this whole idea through some pretty ancient wisdom.
So let's start by looking at a struggle that's happening right now inside every single one of our organizations. It's a fight that, most of the time, goes completely unnoticed.
You see, this really reframes where the real battle lies. It's not being fought in the big strategy meetings or during some flashy product launch. No, it's the quiet, day in, day out effort to just prevent chaos. And it's fought by people who rarely, if ever, get the credit.
Just take a moment and actually picture this person. Who is it on your team? The manager who quietly fixes a problem before it explodes into a crisis? The operations lead who just soaks up all the complexities so their team can actually get work done? Every single successful team has one, and we're about to explore why they are the most essential leaders you have.
Now, to really understand this modern-day organizational hero, we need to travel back, way back, to an ancient cosmic story. A story about a moment of almost catastrophic failure.
In Hindu mythology, there's this incredible story called the Samudra Manthan, and you can think of it as the ultimate joint venture. You've got sworn enemies, the gods and the demons, and they agree to work together. Their goal? To churn the cosmic ocean, to find the nectar of immortality. So yeah, the stakes could not be higher.
For their churning rod, they use an entire mountain. But almost immediately, there's a disaster. The very foundation of their entire project, this massive mountain, starts sinking into the muddy ocean floor. The whole thing is on the brink of total collapse.
And this is where we get the core idea. The solution wasn't another show of force or some grand command. The god Vishnu took the form of a giant tortoise, Kurma, dived to the bottom of the ocean without saying a word and simply held the mountain on his back. He provided the silent, unseen, stable foundation that everything else, all the success that came later, was built upon.
So what on earth can this ancient story about a tortoise teach us about modern management? Well, as it turns out, it gives us 5 really powerful leadership truths.
These 5 truths are the heart of what we can call the Kurma leadership framework. First, the most important person is often invisible. Second, stability is a profound skill. Third, some churning just takes time. Fourth, you have to strengthen the foundation before the crisis. And fifth, you need both sides to churn the ocean. Together, these ideas shift our focus from just visible action to that crucial invisible support.
Let's just focus on that second principle for a second, because it's a huge mindset shift. We often mistake stability for a lack of ambition, for being passive. But what Kurma teaches us is that holding steady when everything around you is in chaos, well, that's not passive at all. It is an act of immense strength and focus.
And that connects directly to the 4th principle. The critical point here is that this kind of leadership is proactive. It's the quiet work that prevents failures from ever happening. It is so much less glamorous than swooping in to fix a crisis, but it is infinitely more valuable for the long-term health of the organization.
Okay, this all sounds great philosophically, right? But how does it actually work in the real world? And, probably more important for any leader, how do you measure it?
A perfect real-world example of this is Toyota. For decades, their competitors were obsessed with their cars, but the real secret sauce was always their production system. It's a system built from the ground up to reward stability, to empower leaders on the factory floor to hold that foundation steady. It's a masterclass in trusting that some churning takes time. That patient, consistent effort builds a resilience that flashy short-term wins can never, ever match. That is Kurma leadership at industrial scale. This brings us right back to the essential question. If this foundational work is so often invisible, how can you track its health? How do you know if your mountain is sitting on solid ground or if it's actually slowly sinking?
Well, the answer is, you measure the effects. You measure the crises that don't happen. As you can see here, when you truly strengthen the foundation, you suddenly see fewer all-hands-on-deck emergency projects. When you treat stability as a skill, you see higher employee retention in your key teams. When you trust the long churn, your strategy doesn't constantly pivot. And when you learn to make the invisible visible, burnout and overtime rates go down. That's the sign of a healthy foundation.
All right, so we've explored the myth, the principles, and even the metrics. The final step is to apply this lens to our own teams and to our own leadership style.
So here is your mandate. Your role isn't just to direct the churning, it's to make sure the foundation is strong enough to handle it. That means you've got to make the invisible visible. You have to practice stability as a discipline and strengthen that foundation before a crisis hits. And that last point, holding productive tension, that's just a reminder that you need both sides to churn the ocean. It's about managing creative conflict without letting it shake the whole base.
And that brings us to the final thought. Who is the Kurma in your team right now? Who's that person whose quiet, stabilizing work you would only truly notice if they were suddenly gone? And what would you do differently if you saw their contribution clearly every single day? How might your leadership, your recognition, and your strategy change if you valued that foundational contribution as the critical asset it truly is?
Thank you for joining this explainer. The power to just hold steady is one of the most underrated skills in leadership. It's that quiet strength that keeps the mountain from sinking, and it's absolutely essential for any organization that actually wants to endure.